I am the proud parent of Beth. I've been in education 13 years, principal and K through 9 teacher. I have 5 kids here in Maricopa, 3 at the high school and 2 at Pima Butte. We've invested our time and our efforts here with Maricopa and wanted to make a stand that we can contribute and make this a good community. I'm thrilled to be able to stand here today to talk about my daughter as being, on March 28th, the only person within that room to stand for the pledge. Okay, that day. Now, it'd be unfortunate that if my daughter was not there that day, how many people would have actually stood up? Now, in respect of another young lady that normally does stand, she normally stands, and it takes courage for her to stand as well. It takes courage to do that. So my daughter stood up for the pledge, was unable to find the flag for whatever reason. I don't think maliciously it was moved. She was trying to find it. And then to look to her teacher for help in trying to say the pledge and find the flag, he turned his face and did not help her in her time of need. The next week, the pledge was not offered 2 days that week. It was not offered at all 2 days that next week. We talked about state law. I hope that we can start to make a better efforts on that. I do acknowledge the right that a person has to choose to not say the pledge. I acknowledge that right. Please consider that as others fail to stand for the pledge, how soon before the ability to disagree is taken away from you and from me. I would present that the choice to not stand for the pledge changes the very ground we all stand. It makes it more dangerous. This is the greatest country in the world, and I know we should all be standing together to not only celebrate our rights, but to defend them. Another thing I'm very excited about is the positive impact that as Principal Soleil has said, from the mouth of babes, and I'm glad she said it because it opened my eyes to what my daughter is doing, the positive impact that is coming in the district of the partnership, of celebrating veterans that have served, and the recognition of how important the pledge is a positive impact. And sometimes we have to go through the darkness to get into the light. And maybe we're starting to see some of the light. And I know that as we work together, partners, that this can be, along with principles we're talking about today, this can be a great community if we stand and work together.
Please conclude your comments.
I appreciate your time.
Ladies and gentlemen of the school board, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ray Sweeney. I'm a U.S. Marine veteran of Vietnam. I'm here to speak on the issue of the lack of respect that was given to that young high school child here at Maricopa School for standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. If nothing else, I hope that the school board and the ladies and gentlemen in the audience here come away with the feeling tonight that maybe you thought it wasn't a very big deal when you got here this evening. Know this, it's a very big deal this evening. Yes. I watched men die for that flag. And a lot of people who gave blood so that Mr. Allman could have the benefit of not standing to our Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I think people need to be bored not to make personal attacks on people. I have no problem.
Another reminder, please do not address you individually. Talk about the issues.
I want to say this.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney.
We owe it, folks, to ourselves to thank God for the opportunity of growing up and serving in a country like this. There is no other country on this planet that equals the abilities and the opportunities that this country offers. And I ask you to stand behind that child who stood up and had the courage to stand, because that's what made this country great, the courage to stand. And I thank her, and I thank you.
I wasn't planning on actually speaking today, but when I got here, I decided I wanted to at least speak my mind. as a vet, and my father was a vet, and my grandfather was a vet. I just can't believe that I've heard that the Pledge of Allegiance is a voluntary thing. I never knew that. Growing up, we've all spoke the Pledge of Allegiance and abided by it for years. I never thought in my lifetime I'd ever hear that it was voluntary. When I read the comments in Maricopa.com last night, I actually have 2 daughters in Maricopa High School. I woke them up last night and I asked them about the Pledge of Allegiance. And they basically told me it's voluntary. Most students sit, teachers sit, they text, they grading papers. I've never in my life heard of that. I never knew that existed. I never knew I'd ever think of ever hearing it existed. And for me being a vet and my whole family of people who have served this country and everybody else who has served our country, to not give the observance. If you don't believe in God, you can skip that part. But at least have the decency to stand and show your allegiance to your flag. I can't believe it's even conceivable that it's happened. I would have never imagined it. And when I woke up my daughters and I was told that it does exist and that it doesn't, that people don't stare at the flag, they don't stand, they're doing other things. I've never heard of that. I just can't understand how it's happening. And as a father of 4 children, I never thought in my time I'd ever hear the fact that it's something that's voluntary.
I'm not a member of any party, any organization. I'm just a United States citizen. I'm not here to talk about feelings. I'm here to talk about facts. I'd like to just address a few points tonight regarding Mr. Allman and the pledge. To me, does Mr. Allman stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And if not, why not? If he does not, this would be an expression of Mr. Allman's opinion of our country's symbol of freedom, patriotism.
I'm sorry, I have to admit for using person's name. I'd like to start a little careful about that.
I think that personal attacks would probably not be appropriate.
I guess I personally object to using people's names because that is not what they're going to do.
Ms. Reed, please speak in general terms.
Such a cavalier approach by a teacher would speak volumes. A teacher in a position of influence and power who demonstrates that the Pledge of Allegiance is as inconsequential as deciding whether or not you want cheese on your pizza is just wrong on so many levels. These kids who attend your schools are the future of this country. Their greatness and their courage is yet to be determined. We, the adults, are the ones who steer the ship they're on right now. It's incredibly hard for a teen to rev up his courage engine when their teacher has as much enthusiasm for the flag as a yawn. And by the way, also has the power to grade them. It takes a Beth to face the ho-hum, big deal, just a piece of cloth attitude, and instead stand up for veterans who've given their life, in many cases parts of their body, and stand up with respect for one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. It would be good to hear one patriotic teen voice who chooses not to take sides, except the side of the flag of the United States and the republic for which it stands. I'd like to hear it, but after reading the press releases, I can see, it appears to me, that the message to your students is, if you file a complaint about any of our staff, will make sure that you are publicly, perhaps humiliated.
Thank you for your...
I believe that the school district's heavy-handed investigation of a young patriot who chose to observe the pledge is reprehensible. And I want you to know that you are not the last word. We the people are, and we will continue to have the back of any young patriot who chooses to give voice to this issue. It's an issue that someday one of these young people will look back on and say to their own kids, I stood up for my country and its symbols. I stood up for principle. I stood up for those who died. So a teacher like Mr. Allman could have the freedom to say in his classroom, no, I do not want to stand and pay respect to my country. There are countries in this world that if a teacher behaved the way Mr. Allman does, he'd be thrown in jail and killed. I know, because my parents fled one of those countries, and they came here and they pledge allegiance to this flag in this country, and they're proud and grateful for that privilege. And I'm just really outraged at the treatment of this young girl and how the investigation was held. And I want these young people to be able to say to their kids, I stood for freedom, and I was proud to do so. Thank you.
I'm an 84-year-old Army Air Force veteran with 3 grandchildren on active duty. According to the Webster New World Dictionary, patriotism is love and loyal or zealous support of one's own country. In these times of political correctness and the use of the think outside the box attitude, it is an insult to all those who have served and who in many cases gave their lives by chastising people for respecting our flag and their desire to publicly display their heartfelt patriotism. Those who are disrespectful and unappreciative should be taught and then teach the history of the greatest place on earth in conjunction with learning and teaching the meaning of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I thank you, and God bless the patriots of America.
I'm a 24-year veteran, and I'm like Jim, a bit appalled. I guess the world has changed more than I reckoned. In my day, peer pressure alone would stop anybody from not respecting God and country. And I guess times have changed, but it's sad. I think it's a lack of respect to the parents too, because they impart that to the children, and the kids come to school, and it just seems, it's sad that kids nowadays don't seem to have much of a passion for life. They don't respect anything, and it's cool not to respect things. The establishment, you know, anything. And I think the teachers need to be a leader in showing the right way. Moral compasses, if you will. And for us to pass on this and not admire this young lady for standing up for what I believe is right. I served 24 years in the American military, and I wasn't even a citizen. I love America. And I'm really upset when somebody disses our beautiful country. Thank you for listening.
I am here tonight to support this young lady who stood up, placed her hand across her heart, and said the Pledge of Allegiance. I am proud of her. I give her parents and her grandparents so much respect. They have taught this girl what this flag means and what the Constitution means, and she is proud of her country. This is the greatest nation in the world. I am grateful to be able to stand here tonight in the presence of so many veterans who have fought for this country. There's World War II veterans in this audience tonight. There are people who went to Okinawa, and they went to Japan, and they went to Korea, and they went to Vietnam, and they stood up and they fought for this country. And to have a teacher sit there and mock and ridicule a student who is proud of her country, this should not be. This teacher should at least stand up, put their hands on their hearts, and lead by example. Thank you.
All right. Back to